Hey, what's up guys? We're doing a reveal of our very first luxury scooter, the Apollo Pro, which will be ready for next year. But to talk about how we get there, we've got to cover some of the prototypes. So to talk about how this process works, we got our CTO, Alwa. What's up, Alwa?
Hi, good. Thank you for having me, Sean.
My pleasure. So, what we have here is one of our first prototypes, or one of our almost to the end for the production.
That's the very first prototype.
Very first one.
And we're gonna show you where we started, and through different, episode, you're gonna see where we are ending. So yeah, let's jump right into it.
Okay, so if you guys remember in a recent podcast, we talked about the design of the Pro and how we got to, well, this. But now we have it here in our hands physically. So we want to cover like some of the special components and features, right?
Yeah.
So where do you want to start here?
So we're gonna start from the back and just walk our way to the top, and then we're gonna look inside the scooter. So the first thing you see at the back is the fender and fender bracket. This one, so maybe we need to explain. The first prototype, it's just a unit you want to secure as fast as possible to see if that concept is actually possible to assemble. And it was the first scooter we're doing without any screws and even wires. That was even before the city. So we just wanted to secure something as fast as possible. So some of the components are not ideal, let's say. So not yet. If we start at the back, you see the fender. The first thing you notice, there's only one fender bracket to the left and nothing to the right. Honestly, just want a double bracket. It looked cleaner, it's gonna be stronger. So that was the first change we did. Here you can see that the fender is pretty rough, and that's because it's 3D printed. So all the plastic component that you see on the scooter, there's not a lot, it's all aluminum except the fenders. It's 3D printed. So that was the first thing. I also didn't like how the fender was holding to the fender bracket, how it was holding to the forks. It's only two small screws on one side, and you can see it's already shaky. There's only, I think, 20 kilometers on that unit before we broke it. So you can see it's already loose, so it's not a good system. Then we switched to the tires. It's 12-inch tires for the Pros. The first scooter we make with big tires like this. The back is fine. The first thing you notice, the motor is silver. It doesn't quite match the rest of the aesthetic of the scooter. It should only be all black, or maybe even like the ring orange to fit with the other orange accent, but silver, no, it should be gone. And you see even the screws of the motors are all silver. It's not the best quality. We want like the 12.9 graded screws, so small thing we needed to change about it. After that, you also have the actual tire. This one is not self-healing. So as you know, with the City and the new Pro, we want all our model to be self-healing when they are tubeless. So we wanted to change that. We had to open new mold with CST, which is a known brand. It's what we use on the Phantom, what we use on the Pro, and even on the new City. So really good quality tires. So anyway, we had to open a mold after that. If we go on the right side, you can also see a wire, which is unacceptable. We want to hide all of them, and it's holding in place only with the tire wrap. We want a dedicated bracket, we want it to be inside, but that's quite hard to do because you need to dig a channel in the forks to pass the wire. That can create weakness, so we need a lot of FEA analysis. But again, for the first prototype, it's so clean. We're pretty happy with it, but there's still a lot to do. So that's the back. If you look at the suspension, that's a rear rubber suspension. It's a rubber block that you can see here. It's pretty good. I don't have anything to say about it. It's a bit soft when we jump on it. That scooter is going to be rated for hundreds of pounds, so the suspension needs to match it. Right now, I'm pretty light and I can't bottom out. So we want something a bit stronger. Then we see the rear foot plate. You can see it's pretty close to the tire, and if you look under it, you're gonna see scuff marks, scratches, because when we jump on it, the tire is rubbing on it. So we need to change the angle of it, and also maybe it's linked to the fact that the rear suspension is it's not stiff enough. Yeah. So maybe just by fixing this, it's gonna fix this, but I don't want to take any chance. I think we're gonna change the angle, and maybe to match the angle of the neck as well, to respect the clean design lines that we're going for. And we see that the lights are integrated. That's pretty clean. The finish between the metal and the plastic, it's perfect. Yeah. Here we can see that there is no seal around it, so it's not really waterproof. The actual LED light inside are waterproof, but we really don't want the water to get in there in the first place. So I think we're going to be adding a seal at the back here, and even here you can see there's a gap between the rear foot plate and the deck, and water could get in there. So ideally there's just no gap. Maybe this is one piece. We need to revise that whole system.
Have you thought about maybe lengthening the back, moving the back tire a little bit farther away to give it more space?
Yes. So we could move it to the back a bit further back, I guess.
Yeah.
But we are right now limited by the box that we need to shift the scooter in. So if we are to make it longer, it's going to be the front to gain better like stability. We can play with the angle, so we need to make this probably a bit longer, change the right angle here. So the back, I prefer changing this and not adding any lane, because the shipping costs, well, it's a factor we need to consider, right? We're always covering shipping for customers, so we need to be careful with that.
I just want to ask a couple questions before we move on. So the fender, you said, is going to have 2 brackets
Yep.
by the time we go into production, and the tire, you said, is 12 inches. What's the width? Is it still
this
3?
one on the first prototype, it was 12 by, I think it's 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I want something that just look rugged. I want something
Okay.
3.5, maybe 4.
It's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
I guess because it's so much taller, it looks thinner than normal, but it's still
Exactly.
roughly about like the standard width.
Completely, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a standard. And when we're gonna move into the front, you're gonna see that that look weird. But yeah, that's for the back. Then we have the actual deck. The deck is super clean. No screws are visible. It's all under the grip tape. We're gonna be removing it a bit later and opening the deck to see what it looks like inside. We want something with like pretty clean wire management, so that's an important part of it. If we go up, we see the neck. The interesting part about the neck is the charging port. It's here. We wanted something that was not on the side, not exposed. A lot of customers had the issue that when they fall with the scooter, the first thing that get damaged is a charging port, and replacing this is just not the best experience. Like you can short it, so we want something that is really like crash proof. So now we have this one. This one is too small. This is like a computer charging port. You should not run 52 volt with like 4 amp through it. So we're gonna be making it bigger, and also the actual charging port. It just doesn't feel as high quality as the rest of the scooter. All the small details are important, and the charging port is something you're gonna use every time you use the scooter, right? So it should be nice, and even to reach it, like it's in the hole here, it's protected, but we have better idea. Then we have the folding mechanism. So for this one, we tried a folding mechanism in the front, and this one is different from what you see on the new City, for example. So if I open it, you're gonna see it's a first latch that is going over the bump, and then the whole folding latch gonna secure the first latch. It's gonna clip. It's super tight. There's no movement at all. But there's 2 things I don't like. The first thing, you need to push the button up and then pull on the thing. It's just not intuitive compared to the City. You want a small button that you can just press and then pull on the thing. Because this one, there's a spring, and you can see it's moving like from up and down and from side to side. For me, it's easy, but I can just imagine a new customer that receive it and it's just not super intuitive. And if we open it, you can see there's already damage to the middle. And again, this scooter has 20 kilometers, so we want something that there's no wear and tear possible on the mechanism. So by adding things that rubs like this, it's well, that's a no. That's it. Also, the screw that secure the folding mechanism in place, we only have 1 in the front. We want something more like the City, that we have 2 in the back that's really gonna clamp on the whole direction. 1 is just not enough. So that's for the folding mechanism. If we open it, you can see all the wires are inside. That's what we wanted. It's super clean, and you can see how thick it is. So if you put your hand around it compared to any other scooter, you can feel it's just massive. So we like that. The adjustment screw for the direction, there is no hole for the spanner wrench too. So if this ever comes loose, there's no way to tie it. On the City, there's like dot that you can. We're gonna be supplying a new spanner wrench, and you can tight the direction if it ever comes loose. With this one, you need to remove all the wires past a big Allen keys. So. Well, no, it's unacceptable. So we need to change that as well, and also make it bigger, the direction screw. It's a little bit small right now. If we go down, we see the front tire, and that's where everything is going wrong. So they went for a 12-inch tires, but they miscalculated the width of the front fork, and they were not able to fit a tire like we have at the back. And also at the back we have a motor, in the front we don't have one. So that's a thing too. When we started doing the Pro, we wanted to do a single motor. It was not even a question to do a dual motor. We just wanted something that's going to accomplish really a long range and with minimal maintenance. So we said, okay, one motor at the back, and that's what we ended up with. So we have, it's called a honeycomb tire. It's a hard tire, there's no air in it. It looked bad. It's just not, the scooter look sick, like it doesn't look healthy. It looks like it's too thin, and yeah, so we don't like that. Again, we have just one fender bracket at the front. You can see the brake cable passing here. There's always going to be a brake cable there, so we just need to find a way to make it more invisible and look better. We also have the spring. The spring is too small. You can see there's just something that doesn't look right about it. The one on the City is bigger now. The spring is bigger. The screw inside, this is a M8 for those who know. The new one is a M12, so it's much stronger. And even riding this one, I crashed with it because I smashed something on the road, but it's part of the job. And yeah, we have the front brake, no motors, the fender, and that's pretty much it. So for the next one, I really want thicker forks. This one is so thin, right? Like it just doesn't look right. And if you look at it from the top, you're gonna see it's open like this. So they pried it open to fit the tires. It's wrong. I think it's good about it. There's also no bushing for the suspension. There's no bearing on the pivot point as well. It's just the screws on the aluminum. That's okay for a first prototype, but it's not gonna last in time. So we need to revise this whole system. And we did a good one for the City, so we're just gonna take the same principle and apply it to the Apollo Pro. So that's for the body. Then we can move up to the handlebar.
Okay, let's talk about the handlebars and the display now.
All right, or the lack of display.
Lack of display.
So for this one, we decided to go with a phone holder as display. We really think this is the future for a lot of reasons that we already covered, but just quickly, no display is ever going to be good as your phone, and also we are able to change the display every month if we want, because we can just push new UI on the Apollo app, and we also encourage our users to use the app like this. Can collect the data for how they're writing the error code, for the support. Everything is a better experience. A lot of people want to display or at least be able to see the battery level. I think I agree. I think it's a basic. So for the next prototype, we're working on something that you're going to see in the upcoming weeks that do show at least the battery. So we have the wireless chargers. Right now, we have a couple of problems with it. The first one, it's not charging your phone if you have a thick case. And we want people to put a case on there, like everyone's gonna put a case on your phone, right? That's one of the most expensive piece of hardware people own, so obviously you should protect it. So the reason why it's not working, it's because of the wireless charger that we have at the moment on it. So that's what we started with. You can see the inside of the mechanism is pretty cool. When you slide it open, the wireless charging, it's following. This is important because you always want it to be centered with the phone. So if it was staying down and you were extending this, well, I'm not sure how mechanically it would work, and also it wouldn't be charging your phone. So that's the first thing we had to solve, and you can see that by moving this, you're gonna see it a bit more on the second prototype we got the wireless charger, but the wires are exposed here. It's a bit dangerous, and you can see it can short pretty easily. That's the second thing we needed to fix. The third thing is the PCB at the back. This needs to be waterproof. It needs to be fixed at the back. Now there's just tape over it. Again, that was assembled, so no big deal, but you need to think about those things. And lastly, the actual quality of the coil. This one is super thin. It's like paper thin. You want a coil that is thicker, and it's also wrapped in tissue to be waterproof. And the more thick the coil is, the more strength you're gonna have to do the wireless charging. But there's a cost that comes with it, right? Copper is super expensive. So we needed to open a new mold for this and have an investment with this factory. So that was the first prototype of the wireless charger I received. Then the second prototype is on the first prototype of the scooter, which is this one. So what did they fix with this one? We have the new wireless charger, so you can see it's completely wrapped. It looked way better. It's still not charging my phone through the case. It's a bit better. It's capturing the signal more. This one was pulsing, so it was on, off, because the voltage was also too low from the scooter. We need more strength, more power, more voltage to be able to feed the wireless charger. So we're gonna be, again, changing that. The actual phone holder is way better. It's super smooth now. It's actually perfect. But there's two things I don't like. The first one, the wires are all still exposed, and you can see here I played with it a bit too much. For obvious reason, this is not good. And also the gears to lock the actual phone holder. So it's not just a spring loaded. You can lock it like this around your phone. It's gonna wrap around it and grab it. The gears, the teeth of the gears are too big. So sometimes it's just like between two teeth really grab your phone. So we want something that is extremely secure. Because if this part fell, the rest of the scooter is not good, right? Like people need to trust the scooter, and it's starting really with this component here. So that's for the phone as display, except that it's working well. With the new one, it's really holding the phone properly. Then we move to the speaker. So on the right side, you have a speaker. It's pretty cool because we can do alarms with it, we can do horn, we can do a lot of Easter egg as well, which we are big fans here. It's just way better than having an on-off horn like every scooter has. We have more room, and again, being connected with the app, you can record yourself, we can do so many things, so a speaker makes sense. The problem though is that this speaker is really bad. The sound is not good, and the reason for this is the speaker is really small, because inside here, well, we have what I just showed about the PCB of the wireless charger. We also have the PCB of all the components coming together and plugging into it. And for the light, you can imagine, it's jam-packed in there, right? So yeah, so to fit the speaker, it's like, the factory was like, no, there's just not enough space. So there was supposed to be 2 speakers at the beginning. Then we said, okay, we're just gonna put 1. So we had to do some magic to fit it there. And on top of that, you have the headlight too, which is going directly on the PCB. So we need to increase the size of the speaker to be a bit louder. Like let's in the case for the horn or alarm, you want something really strong, and also the quality of it. Now the best way to describe it, there's zero bass, there's zero like deep sound, so it's so high pitch, it's not nice. For a horn it's fine, but if you want to listen to your music while you ride, it's not good. Then we have the throttle. So what is special about those throttles? They are all in aluminum. They were CNC cut, it's not in plastic, and that gives you really the feeling of being cold to the touch, feel high quality. The problem that we have is this is really weak spring inside. If you press on them, they are super smooth, they always go back, but the force required is too minimal. We want something stronger. We also went for I guess smooth handle, and those are the ones that they use on like on police equipment for like matraque, you know, those kind of things. So that we don't encourage, but it was just good like material that we thought it was going to be nice, but when you look at it, it honestly just looked cheap. And you can see like the wrinkles here already. Yeah. We tried something fancy, but we need to go back to regular handle grip. Maybe something custom that's connected with the pattern of the grip on the deck, but that was just not a good idea.
So the handlebars double as a police baton if someone tries to
Exactly. You have a quick latch here and you can grab it. So. Then we have the brake handle. So 100% of the parts are proprietary, they are unique, even the brake handle. So we wanted something really clean. You can see this one is beautiful. 2 problems with it. The first one, there's only 1 brake handle, and after that we said, well, we need 2 brake handles. If this scooter is going to go at 60, 65 an hour, there's the regen, which is more than strong enough, and you never use the brake. But just in case, just to be safe, well, it's going to look better because it's going to be symmetric, and also, yeah, it's just better to have. The other problem I have is it's not long enough, and the angle of it is quite far from your hands. So when people, for me it's fine, I have really big hands, but for regular mortal, I guess, regular people, it's quite far. Yeah. And in case of like an emergency, you want something that you can grab quickly. That's why usually the brake handle are going more in and the angle is more steep here. So it's not in the way, but you can still grab it quickly. So I want to change that. And also you can see that the sensor part here, it's exposed. It could be closed and a bit more clean than what it is now. And the water could get in there. There's silicone, but there's still something to do. You need to change the position, change the brake handle, the geometry of it, close the sensor here, add a second one, change the grip handle, change the phone holder, change the wireless charger, the speaker, and we also want to add turning signal at the end. Right now the turning signal system is fantastic on this one. It's the coolest by far. It's like the Audi one, right? You press the turning signal and it's doing the motion. I won't do it because I broke it, but it's really cool. But you need something at the top. It's a comment that we see every week that people say it's missing on the City or the Phantom. So for this one, we're like, we might as well put it from the start and people are gonna be happy. So that's pretty much it for the handlebar system. Then we also have the kickstand that we didn't mention. So right now it is on it. This kickstand is pretty cool because you can stand on the scooter while you're on the kickstand. Just need a bit of balance. So just brag, it's cool. And also for me, you can change, let's say, the rear tire. You can work on the scooter and you don't necessarily need a lift, right? If you have a rear flat, you can lift the scooter and the rear wheel is going to be up. Or if you have a front one, well, you can do the same thing and just tilt it up like this and change it. But the kickstand is pretty cool, and we wanted something motorcycle style. It's something that I think Paul from ESG mentioned countless times. So we wanted something like this and not something in plastic. I wanted something in metal that was ridiculously strong, like I can stand on the scooter.
Okay, so you're able to stand on the kickstand or on the scooter while it's down because it's a square design underneath, right?
Exactly. So we did this square design for two reasons. The first one is to fit well into the deck when you retract it, and also to not lean on one side like it is for all our other scooters. With a kickstand now, on any regular scooter, you open it and the scooter is always tilting on one side, and you're never sure if like the wind's gonna blow too hard and it's gonna like make it fall. So we just wanted something super strong like this. This kickstand is great, but there's a couple of things we need to improve on it. The first one is the lack of protection under the kickstand. Now it's like raw aluminum, so if you open it, you're gonna scratch your floor. And you can see the floor that we have here at the office looks terrible. It's only because of this guy. And we also want it to be easy to open from both sides of the scooter. So if I'm gonna close it, there is one latch on the left side, but there's nothing on the right side. I think there should be a latch on both sides, so you don't even think about it. You can just put your feet at the back and open it. And I would also like the orange part to be rubber instead of metal, just to feel better, just like what we want at the base of the kickstand. The other issue I have too is when I ride right now, there's nothing except the spring system in it. There's a spring, like you can see here, holding the kickstand up. So if you ride and you hit bumps, it's always going to rattle like this, which is quite annoying. Nothing can rattle on that scooter, everything needs to be stiff. So I'm going to try adding the rubber and making it a bit stiffer at the back, like the gap to fit it. So hopefully it's going to stay up, and even if there is rattle, the rubber is going to absorb everything and you won't hear it. The other problem we have as well is the spring mechanism is inside the body now, and there's no way for us to tighten it. So with the time and the wear and tear, because you're going to open it, close it, it's going to become loose. So we need some kind of adjustment screw to be sure that it's going to last thousands of kilometers and never be loose. So that's what we are changing for the next iteration of the kickstand.
All right, so open up the deck now and see what's inside.
Yep, so the first step, we're going to remove the grip tape. So it is in layers to be easy to remove. So we already undid all the screws except two.
You can see there's no seam here, so where it opens must be on
so
the side somewhere.
This whole thing is one part. It's gonna split just over the light. So again, that's also good for water protection, because if you look at any other scooter that open from the top, like a Phantom, you have the cutout here, so the water could get into the holes. To fix that, we usually put a gasket around the battery. But for this one, by default, the water just gonna slide on the side. So that's really a good design for this. So now we're gonna open the deck here. All right, so that's how it's looking inside. So you can see this thing is a massive plate. You could use it as a shield. It's probably bulletproof, super heavy too. So as soon as you open it, you notice that again, there is no seal around it. We have the space, see it here, we can fit a seal, but it's just metal on metal. So we need to fix that to improve the water rating. We're aiming for this scooter to be IP66, so for this it needs to be completely waterproof. You can see that the back plate is staying there, and that's why we have the gap that I showed at the beginning. That's because it's two parts, so maybe you're gonna try to do one part together. The whole design needs to change for this to happen, so we'll see. Again, we're gonna change the angle of this, so we might as well redo it. We'll see. So if we open it, there's a couple of things we noticed. The battery, 52 volt, 30 amp hour, 1560 watt hours. That should allow the user to do 100 kilometers of range. You can see that it's also pretty thick, right?
Massive.
Yeah. We use 21700 cells, so those are the new ones like we have in the city. Higher discharge, longer lifespan. That's why it's so massive. It's the best cell, and again, it's going to be the best scooter, so might as well put the best battery. Most of the connectors on that Simple are waterproof. So you can see this one is for the smart BMS of the battery. So we also have now a computer inside the battery to tell us some information about it and to have more smart diagnostic. Here we have the motor phase wire. Those motors, this one's gonna have sensors in it. We have temperature sensor, position sensor, again, just to get more data. So you can see that the connectors are pretty cool. This one is for the charging port. Also love it. It's simple and it's closing like this. You have a seal, and on top of that you add this, so it's really waterproof. That being said, the funny thing is that this is like a chain, right? It's just as strong as the weakest link. So by having some connectors that are still like this, those one are for the lights, we need to change this to be the same grade as the other connectors. Because it just looks weird to have such nice connectors and then a random one like this.
For comparison, for anyone who doesn't know, who hasn't opened up the scooter, the older connectors were more like this style, right?
Yes, without heat shrink, so all exposed.
So to change anything before, you'd have to snip the wires, cut off the connector, do all that kind of stuff. Now this is just a simple.
Yep, exactly. If we move at the back, there's two components, and usually you only have one. That's the new thing with the Pro. The lights are so powerful on that scooter that we need a dedicated box light, because if we were to ask the controller to do all the light management, it would overheat and it would be much bigger as well. So we wanted to have a dedicated thing, and there's a lot of smart interaction you can do with the app. You need a dedicated piece of hardware to do all of this. And you have the controller at the back. So a couple of things I noticed right off the bat. The wire management could be better. It's still like a wire nest, like we say. Could be cleaner, tight, maybe like it's gonna be like held against the frame, not just like all loose like this. So yeah, I want something really like wire management. So inside, that's the term that we use. And also it's directly fixed against the back of the scooter, like the foot plate, and at the back you have the rubber. So even for heat dissipation, it's not the best. You want it either against directly the deck under it to dissipate the heat through like all the aluminum surface, or even at the top, but we have the grip tape, so I prefer if it was going to be down. And you can notice that there would not even be enough space to do that, right? We could not even flip it, but at the front here we do have a lot of free room. So I think we're gonna switch a whole battery forward, and then we're gonna be able to switch this one down. Right now it's more beautiful on the outside than the inside, and that's not our values here, so we need to change that. I'm gonna turn it on as well so you can see the lights on the scooter. The window sound, we need to change that as well. And so this is the lights, it's all rounded. We have one in the stem as well that I broke, so you won't see it on that prototype. And we have it all the way at the back here. The goal for the next prototype is to have them do more like be more interactive. So when I brake, it should turn red. And this one, before, again, I bricked it, it was doing all the colors like a RGB gaming board. And the factory did that really to show. I wanted them to demonstrate that we could do all the colors, you know, like and show it to the team, and like maybe they'd say purple is my favorite one or whatever, just to see like the shade of the color. So we have a video of Sean writing it, and it's doing the rainbow thing. Again, we don't want it to be the rainbow thing because it just looked very cheap when this is happening. It looked like a toys, you know, and this is like a luxury vehicle grade scooter. So it needs to be white or like all purple, like you can set it with the app, but I don't want an RGB spinning thing. It's not the Voltron. We are aiming for the tire. So I guess that concluded.
Yeah. Honestly, not too bad. Even though it's like a prototype, there's some more cleaning up to do. Like compared to pretty much every other scooter that you open up, it's clean by those standards.
It's already way better. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Do you think shifting the battery forward, even just that little amount, will affect the weight balance of the scooter at all?
I don't think so, because we're moving with, maybe for that prototype, yes, a little bit, but because we're moving with two motors, there's going to be a lot of like added weight to the back, because it's going to be bigger motor, bigger tire, and even in the front. So I think it's going to balance it.
Yeah.
And actually now I think it's a bit more to the rear than the front, so maybe by moving it forward, it's actually going to balance it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because this one only has a single motor in the rear anyway.
Yeah, and the center of gravity on the scooter is so low, and you're adding so much weight on it, meaning our weight, that I don't think it's going to affect it very much. No?
Makes sense. Cool. I mean, for first prototype, this is pretty good. We're going to cover some of the progression, I guess, in the next prototypes later video.
Exactly. So we have a couple prototypes that are being made. We're going to be showing this is a V1. We're going to be showing the V2, the V3, the V4, maybe the V5, until we go to the production unit. So it's a bit of a different approach than what we're doing before. All of them side by side, and we're waiting for the end of it. We want to share it with the community to get feedback, hopefully a bit earlier. And if people like the turning signal, the Handlebars is a good example, right? It's something easy that we heard from feedback. So if everyone wants to share their feedback about it, it's something we can add for future prototype.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask for the next video, or have any feedback, comments you want to share with us, let us know. Maybe we can address it in the next video coming up. But I think it's a pretty cool start.
It is. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned.